Instead of trying to change the white man in your mind, make you accept us, we change the mind of the black man and make him accept himself. And as soon as he accepts himself, he'll solve his own problem. He won't be trying to force himself into your factory and into your bedroom and into your kitchen.
With no education, you have neo-colonialism instead of colonialism, like you got in Africa now, like you got in Haiti. So what we're talking about is there has to be educational program. That's very important. As a matter of fact, we're so important for us that a person has to go through 6 weeks of our political education before he can consider himself a member of the party, able to even run down ideology for the party. Why? Because if they don't have the education, then they're nowhere. You dig what I'm saying? They're nowhere because they don't even know why they're doing what they're doing. You might get people caught up in an emotionless mood. You understand me? You might get them caught up in because they're poor and they want something. And then if they're not educated, they want more. And before you know it, they'll be chocolate. Before you know it, we have Negro imperialists.
Peace and Black Power family. It's Brother I.J. Taimba from Harlem Liberation School, where we teach Black people, new Africans, to wake up, clean up, and stand up, in the words of one of the greatest Black liberation theorists in history, the brother whose collage you see in my background, Brother Malcolm X. Family, we want to thank you for joining us. We know that many of you are going to come on later. We know many of you are going to watch this live recorded version. We know that this information that we're providing to the community is of great importance. We're going to have a special guest, my brother, the Brooklyn General, the Brooklyn Flamethrower. He plays no games. He should be on sometime after I finish this presentation. Just so you understand what's going on, we're doing a teaching, a virtual teaching. We're talking about Project 2025, which is, we're going to get into what that is actually for the teaching. And in a subsequent event, virtual event, Harlem Liberation School, next Saturday, is now going to do a town hall meeting. So we're going from giving you the general information so you know what's going on, the players involved, how it affects us. Next week, because we don't have time to waste, family. This is urgent. This election's coming up, and we have to think past the election, so we got a lot of work to do. So we're trying to really accelerate our schedule with this issue. Next week, we're going to have a town hall meeting, which will not be us giving you any more information about Project 2025. If you look in the description section of the video, you will see that we've given you some links to a video about it, and we give you a very important, I think it's called the People's Playbook, which breaks down all the major issues of Project 2025. Next week, family, we're talking about strategy. Next week is a town hall strategy meeting. We're inviting the community out, all the Africans and new Africans, to come on out, join us, and to get some ideas percolating about how we're going to respond to this. So without further ado, let us get started. Let me first remind everyone, family, I got to remind you that we always are asking people to certainly donate to Harlem Liberation School's GoFundMe campaign, our fundraiser for Baba Daruba bin Wahad. I have the link there. I'm going to show it at different points in this broadcast. We are close to, I think we have $2,500 to go to reach the $10,000 fundraiser for Brother Deruba, man. We got to clap it up. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. I'm proud of us, Harlem Liberation School, because we sponsored it, but I'm proud of all of you Africans and New Africans, and I'm sure some radical white folk threw some money in the pot. And that brother deserves that, family. He did 19 years as a political prisoner, might say a prisoner of war for the Black Liberation Army. And he co-founded the Black Liberation Army. He was a leader in New York, the branch of the Black Panther Party. He deserves that, 10,000 and much more. All right. So please support that. Also, family, Harlem Liberation School could always use your support. We're going to have that ticker going down on the bottom. If you want to throw us a little something, we appreciate it, family. We're just trying to do work for the people. As for me personally, this is completing my divine assignment, family, to do political education for our people. That's my divine assignment. So we're talking about Project 2025. I'm going to go right to, we got Brother Kareem. I'm going to bring him in real quick. And Brother Kareem, how you doing, good brother?
Peace and power. Good evening. How you doing?
Man, I feel blessed, brother. Blessed to be breathing. And blessed that you made time for us too. So just for everyone who knows, this Brother Kareem, also known as Bliss, in the building from Brooklyn, East New York, in the building. He's going to join us after I do this presentation. We're going to kind of kick it. You know how they do on these channels where they have the main presentation and then the commentators kick it, give their commentary. So I asked our brother to join us because his commentary I know is going to be solid, relevant, and no holds barred, which is what we need in these days and times. So, brother, I'm going to put us on this side. I'm going to bring, I hope I'm doing this correctly. Hold on. I am going to share a screen. Hold on. Does anyone see that screen, or is it the same screen? Hold on. Okay, I think that's right. Everybody should see what is Project 2025. Kareem, do you see that?
Yes, I see it. It's right here.
Excellent. Okay. So we're going to begin, family. Project 2025 is a collection of conservative and right-wing policy proposals from a very right-wing, racist, conservative organization or think tank called the Heritage Foundation to reshape the United States federal government, to reconstruct it, and to consolidate executive power. That sounds very innocuous or innocent, but in a minute we're going to go into how sinister this actually is. I'm actually going to have Sister Congresswoman Presley very quickly break down in her way what this Project 2025 is about.
Project 2025 is a far-right manifesto. It is a 1,000-page bucket list of extremist policies that would uproot every government agency and disrupt the lives of every person who calls this country home.
So I think the sister broke it down pretty concisely and pretty well.
Project 2025.
Now you're probably asking, okay, you mentioned this Heritage Foundation. They're the ones who came up with this Project 2025. Who are they? And as you can see on the screen, the Heritage Foundation is an American conservative think tank based in Washington, D.C. By think tank, what we mean is what they do is meet. They meet all the time. something that we seem to have a problem with. We don't need to meet. Yeah, we do. The most powerful people in this country are subjugating us because they meet and strategize, fam. Be clear. Be very clear. So they meet and they come up with policy proposals. Founded in 1973, it took a leading role in the conservative movement in the 1980s during Ronald Reagan's presidency. Those of you who are old enough to remember Ronald Reagan's presidency know that he was a right-wing conservative. Of course, he was a lot more polished and savvy and sophisticated than Donald Trump because he was, after all, a Hollywood actor, right? So he knew how to pull things off in a way. He knew how to use the language in a way it was a lot smoother, a lot more digestible, a lot less offensive blatantly than Donald Trump. And as I said, they develop, promote, and assist politicians in executing conservative policies. So they'll meet, they'll have their different experts in labor relations, the economy, education, and all these social services. They'll meet, they'll come up with policy suggestions that are ultra right-wing conservative. And then they will meet and lobby with politicians at the local, state, and federal levels to get them to incorporate or execute these policies, Republicans in particular, right? Now, I want you to listen to, so you can get a feel for their energy, their vibration, their tone, where they're coming from. I want you to hear the president, the current president of the Heritage Foundation, explaining what they're trying to do with this Project 2025. Check this out, family.
In spite of all this nonsense from the left, we are going to win. We're in the process of taking this country back. We are in the process of the Second American Revolution, which will remain bloodless if the left allows it to be.
Hold on. Now, family, what this man just got through saying is, we're going to take the country back. Back from whom, we should be asking? Well, he probably means so-called liberals, so-called progressives, so-called leftists, and black people and people of color, right? He's coming from that Confederate way of thinking, like, we lost the war, the Negroes are free now, they can vote, they're considered citizens under the 14th Amendment. We got to take it back. Or as Donald Trump would tell you, we got to make America great again for them. He also said, he used violent laced words. He said, we're going to have a second American revolution. And then he said, and it will be a bloodless revolution if the left allows it to be. Whoa, he's speaking very arrogantly. That's like a dude in the street said, man, we can settle this cool and calm. If you're going to let it be that way, it's like a kind of a implied threat. Like, we can get bloody and hostile if you want to, kind of thing. All right, so I hope everyone's following me. We're going to go through this quickly. I don't want to waste time. I want us to get on board with this, doing something about it. Now, one of the main things I wanted to get to, why is Project 2025 dangerous for us? Why is it dangerous for us? Well, number one, it promotes, hold on, a unitary executive theory. That's a fancy way of saying that you got these people, these constitutional lawyers that are the sort of these radical white conservative types who are looking at the article in the Constitution that outlines the president's powers and what the president is supposed to do. And what they're arguing is that according to the Constitution, the president really should have complete control of the executive branch. And not only that, but complete control of all the branches. So what they're trying to do is almost rewrite the Constitution in such a way where the president, presumably Donald Trump, if he were to get elected, would have complete control over the federal government, making him, in a sense, a king or a dictator. And if you know the American history, you know that the 13 colonies were colonies of Britain and King George III. And one of the things they hated was that they were being ruled by one person who had complete power. And this is why you have the Bill of Rights, family. When they wrote the Constitution, they never wanted another king. They never wanted a dictator, at least so they said and wrote. Number two, it's going to eliminate, it proposes eliminating civil rights protections, diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. It talks about eliminating labor laws that protect workers currently, giving the president power to hire and fire hundreds of thousands of civil servants or government workers based not on their performance, but on their party loyalty to the president. This is important. See, the founders tried to put in these checks and balances, supposedly, to make sure that one party, rather one branch or one person wouldn't have all the power. Because to the degree that you can consolidate all the power is the degree to which you will be corrupt. We see this all over the world, right? By autocrat type of leaders. You know, there's one radio station owned by the government. There's one newspaper owned by the government, right? You have no choice. They turn off the internet. They tell you what you can even see and search. You know, that type of situation. And this is the type of situation that this type of policy or these proposals would possibly lead to. Workers should be hired on the basis, should be nonpartisan, is the way we have it now. You can go work for your city government. You can go work for the transportation department, teachers, board of ed, all types of city work. You don't have to subscribe to a particular party. You don't have to say I'm Democrat. You don't have to be Republican, right? You don't have to announce your political ideology. You don't have to be a member of a certain organization. You can still get those civil service jobs if you pass the exams and you do meet whatever requirements. You don't have to be loyal to any party. They're trying to get rid of that to make it so that you do have to be loyal to a party, right? So it'll be more of a patronage kind of system, a quid pro quo. You look out for us, you support the party, we give you a job. If not, you're out. You can understand the ramifications of that. Then you have, this is very important for people like myself, my queen, my mother, some of your parents, some of you watching. They're going to, right now, even though we have a pharmaceutical industry that is off the chain, family, in terms of how much money they make, how they lobby these doctors and pressure them to give you a medication you don't particularly need because they want to make money off of it. We have some regulations in place that curb the pharmaceuticals' ability to charge exorbitant prices for most of our prescription medications. But what they would do is make the cost of these life-saving medications far too high for many elderly and poor people in this country. You're going to notice that as I go through these are not just affecting our people. In fact, it's going to be affecting a lot of white folk too. But see, when you're one of these oligarch type people, these people who are big on money, they see some of their poor white friends and brothers as being casualties of war. They'll take some of them out to get to you, family, with no problem. Moving on, they're going to remove the disparate impact clause. Basically, that's saying that right now, if let's say as a teacher, I felt that a particular principal or superintendent of a school district was being racist toward me, and I made it a case, and it got to the federal government or what have you, they would say, well, Brother Ajay, can you prove? And it's very difficult, as you know, sometimes to prove that an institution's being racist toward you. That's very difficult to prove sometimes, because the way they do it, it may not be particularly blatant. Like the brother I had on the firefighter, who was talking about all the racist things they're doing to him and how difficult it is to prove these things. But for that reason, right, our black civil rights lawyers, God bless them, forced the government to adopt a clause, the disparate impact clause, which means you may not have to prove exactly empirically that there's a racist discrimination against you. But if you can show and prove that a whole bunch of other black people and new Africans are going through the same exact thing you're going through, and that it's disproportionate to us, and that it is discriminatory, you can win those cases where you're trying to challenge discrimination. And if they remove that clause, family, it's going to be almost impossible for you to bring up any type of civil rights trial, discrimination suit against for employment, for housing, education, discrimination. It'll be almost impossible. Moving on, those of us that get food assistance, what we used to call back in the day food stamps, right? Healthcare benefits like Medicaid and all these different social services. They have this thing called accessoride, where you can, it's hard for you to walk around, move around. It's almost like a cab service. Come to take you from your door to wherever you're going, and you pay them the same amount you pay for the bus. So in New York, it's $3 to where you're going and $3 back, right? So for people who can't walk around easily and have limited mobility, that's a perfect thing, right? They're going to significantly reduce the food assistance. If you're getting food assistance, Medicaid, any type of social service benefits through the government, they're going to reduce what you have already significantly, and they're going to make it excruciatingly difficult for you to keep it. And if you never had it, you're trying to get it, going to make it nearly impossible for you to get it, right? Moving on, family. Okay, make sure. A few more things. They're cutting federal loan programs. They're going to make it very difficult for your child or for you to afford college, to get the money, the loans to afford college or certain training programs. They're going to remove regulations on corporations that are involved in finding gas, drilling for oil, which will make the environment more polluted and will affect our health. See, right now, there's regulatory agencies like the Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA, that monitors drilling and has restrictions for certain things you can and can't do because they're looking out for the environment. They're saying this stuff, emissions of cars, buses, trucks. That's why you see hybrid vehicles now. That's why you see battery-operated vehicles. This is all the EPA's effort, right, to force these industries to make safer products to help our environment, our ecosystem, but also to help us to be healthier. They're going to remove that. Now, you might be thinking, RJ, why would they want to remove these regulations on these corporations? Why would they willingly and knowingly create an environment where there's more pollution? Well, family, that's because many of them are in bed with these corporations. Many of them are on the boards of these corporations. They don't care about the health of the country. The corporations make an enormous amount of money from drilling that oil, from getting gas out of the environment, right? Even though they know it's polluting the environment and killing people, they're making billions of dollars, and they want to create a situation where they keep making billions of dollars, and they can't do that as efficiently or easily because of the regulations in place, because of organizations like the Environmental Protection Agency. So they want to get rid of some of those agencies, and the ones that are still standing, they want to change the laws so that it's easier for them to allow these corporations and these industries to do things that are not particularly environmentally friendly or human friendly. And then, of course, they want to cut funding for local job creation programs. So for those who say, this isn't dangerous, I just gave you mad reasons why this is dangerous for us. This is dangerous for people of color as well. This is dangerous for poor people. To some degree, it's dangerous for women. To some degree, it's dangerous to the members of the LGBTQ. Those women that, I didn't address this, but those women that want to have the right to decide if they want abortions or not something that many of us, it's an uncomfortable subject. Some people disagree because of religious reasons that we shouldn't be doing that anyway. I'm trying to take it out of that lens, and I'm saying, well, In some cases, this may help the young lady or the woman to stay alive. Or in some cases, she may have had that baby through very uncomfortable circumstances. It may have been forced upon her, if you know what I mean, and she may not want to have that child. There's a number of reasons. But at the end of the day, the woman, I would think, should have a say, a right to that. They want to get rid of all that, and they want to be able to punish the doctors who allow that or facilitate that. Now, this is something I think is really, really, really important as we get to this part. I've been speaking with so many Black people, New Africans, family, around this issue. Conscious, so they say. And you'll be surprised at their responses. They're like, oh man, it's no big deal. Yeah, but white people gonna be white people. That's what they do. And they've been doing it for hundreds of years. This ain't nothing new. Or they'll say, or you got people that's so paranoid. Oh my God, it's the end of the world. It's one extreme or the other. Completely cavalier and indifferent, or completely paranoid. And I would like us to not be either of those extremes. I would like us to take this very seriously. Some people say, well, RJ, the Heritage Foundation did this with Ronald Reagan. We've been through this before. We've been there, done that, brother. You're old. This is old news. Why are you making a big deal? Well, I'm making a big deal because Trump is not Ronald Reagan, family. Ronald Reagan didn't have nowhere near the popularity, the high polling of Donald Trump. Donald Trump is more vicious. He doesn't give a damn. He will say and do anything. He will represent that right, radical, racist, conservative wing to the fullest. And unlike the Ronald Reagan era, Reagan didn't have almost complete control of the Supreme Court. The Republicans have 6 out of the 9 Supreme Court justices are Republican, and they're conservative. This is a different time. You can't compare what went on with Reagan with what's going on with this guy. Reagan didn't organize no coup d'etat in Washington, D.C. This president was actually calling for people to take over the Capitol, and people tried to do it. This is a different man. And in the 80s, and Brother Karim, when he comes on, I know he's going to add on. Karim knows in the 80s we was banging. The activists, the brothers and sisters that were conscious were banging on the police, banging on the government, banging on social services, banging on Ronald Reagan's presidency and his administrative policies, banging on the universities, turning the colleges inside out, upside down, to make sure they were fair and equitable for our people. Hip hop was revolutionary and progressive and talking about issues, stop the violence, and condemning racism. We had Chuck D and Public Enemy and Brand Newbie and Poor Righteous Teachers, and I could keep going and going. It was a different climate. So you had a strong activist, militant, nationalist and Pan-Africanist community of people. You had Alton Maddox in the, United African Movement. You had people that were banging on racism in a way that you don't see today. You don't see it nowhere near the same intensity. So the things that couldn't go on as easily in Reagan's administration could definitely happen now. The climate is perfect for him to assume the role of a dictator. And if he gets in office and they pass those things, and they can pass those things, family, because they run the Supreme Court. Be very clear. The Supreme Court just gave this man immunity, family. He's a felon. Come on, right? Clean this slate. Why? Because they have the power. That's what they do. They decide if things are constitutional or not. Your social studies teacher probably told you, unlike me as a social studies teacher, that the 3 branches of government had balanced power. What he didn't tell you is that only works when there's a real balance of power, when it's power is distributed amongst the parties. But what happens when one party runs the Congress, has more of their party members in the Congress, has more of their party members in the Supreme Court? No more balance of power, baby. Think about that. And that can actually happen. I want to challenge us not to focus so much. We have to, this election coming up is an immediate thing. We got to talk about that. And next time we meet, we're going to have the town hall, and we're hoping that y'all will come out with a lot more people to give us some suggestions. What's our action plan going to be? But I want to caution us not to get so focused on November that we forget about January. See, November is the election, but January is when that president takes office. From January on, when those things start coming down the pipe, there are things we could be doing in these upcoming months. You know, one thing I've thrown out, we need an independent Black political party, and we need a Black agenda. But that's another story for next week. So I want to caution us to be balanced. We deal with this election coming up. How are we going to deal with that? And then we need to deal with what we're going to do in the future. If there's a Democratic president or a Republican president, you know. Also, the last point for this, I think I want to challenge us not to be too dependent and too hopeful on these traditional party politics, the Republicans and the Democrats. It's almost like we're in this political game. We're watching it in the bleachers, eating the popcorn and drinking beer, while the people on the field doing things, and we're just responding to it, but we're not involved. It's like we're bystanders to this. And I want to get us out of that position. I want us to start thinking about, what was the Republican New Africa saying about this? What was the Black Panther Party putting forth about this? What would Marcus Garvey be saying about this? What would Malcolm X be saying about this? Right? What are the things that we could, or the Revolutionary Action Movement, Brother Dr. Muhammad Ahmad, what would they be saying about this? We have organizations that have put forth blueprints and remedies. We got people like Elena Porter and Brother Ishmael Bey. They try to talk about building nation and striving for sovereignty and self-determination. So I want us not to get caught up in everything we do has to be based on what they do, and we got to play by their rules. Because if you play by your enemy's rules, I can guarantee you that you will lose every time. And lastly, family, I gave you some resources in the description section of this video. The People's Guide to Project 2025 is excellent. It's about a 50-page document, good pictures, good graphics, big lettering, highlighting all the things you need to know about this project in 2025. They had the lawyers and people go through it with a fine-tooth comb, and they break down all the major things you need to know. That's for those of you who don't want to read the 930-something page book that they created about explaining their policy proposals. And then the second thing is a video. There's a remarkable father-daughter team family on YouTube. They're called the Defiant Lawyers. They're both civil rights lawyers. They're both pro-Black, and they're doing wonderful work. So subscribe to their channel and check out their videos on this project as well. He was talking about this nearly a year ago, by the way. He was way ahead of the curve. And with that, the last thing, and then I want to bring Brother Karim in, is we're going to, next week, we're not waiting. We're hosting a town hall meeting for Project 2025, a strategy session. That's a Saturday, live here at Harlem Liberation School on YouTube. And it will be at 2 p.m. Eastern. We imagine it would take maybe an hour and a half, possibly 2 if we stretch it. But we're coming to you now. Now you're educated. Now you're going to go in the description section. You're going to read those things, watch the video. You now know, oh, that's what this is about. Now we need to talk about what are we going to do about that? How do we respond? Are we going to vote as a block in this election? Who are we voting for? We going to vote for Kamala Harris? I don't know. We voting independent. What are we going to do? And then for after the election, how are we going to respond? We can anticipate violence, increased violence, if there's a Republican president like Trump and he follows this plan. We can anticipate a lot of us suffering who depend on social services in some way. A lot of people not getting their medication. There's going to be a lot, family, if this goes down. So we're going to have a strategy session Saturday, July 27th, 2 p.m. Eastern. Make sure you be there. Now, that said, we're gonna stop sharing that. We're gonna get back. I want a brother Kareem, peace, my brother. Now you heard all this, brother, and you're one of the few brothers and black people I know that actually read through the document. At least they can say I read through it. I'm familiar with it on a
Yes.
first basis, which says a lot about you already.
Yes,
You
as
heard
always.
what do you have to say, brother? What do
Well,
you think?
as always, it's always my pleasure to sit and dialogue with you, to kind of sit in your intelligence and your eloquent delivery. It is always an honor for me to share this space.
Respect. Thank you.
And before I go on, I definitely want to send deepest condolences and healing strength to the family of the sister Macy out in Illinois, who was unalived by a white officer uh, with a gunshot to the face, as he claims that she was threatening him with a pot of boiling water. So we want to send our condolences and the healing strength of the universe to her family, and hope that they receive some type of closure and justice as this case begins to move forward. The officer has been charged, and right now I believe he still is in custody. But these are the things that we are facing, have faced, and will continue to face as we struggle through this war of white supremacy, manifest destiny, this idea, this ideology that white men are the greatest thing since sliced bread and Adam hit this planet. Um, we have to be mindful of what's going on with this project. I, for one, have read the entire document, making note and seeing exactly where the danger lies. But I want to allow people to read it for themselves and to get into a space where they understand that this is a proposed document, that this is not, and I repeat right now, as of right now, Donald Trump's policy. I want y'all to understand that this is a very, very, very different space that we're in, because Donald Trump himself is not deeply aligned with the conservatives or the Republicans. He is utilizing them. Always be mindful that the language that they use with Donald Trump is Trump supporters, which is a very different mentality that he has tapped into and built up. These are men and women who would definitely like to put you back into fields. These are men and women who would love to have your children rubbing their feet as they sit on porches while they have you and I working, tending to fields and things of that nature. Trump supporters are very different from Republicans and conservatives. They have TikToks and a social media frenzy online where you have these Trump supporters actually making statement that they would jump off of a bridge for this man, that they love this man, and they themselves do not understand the policies of this Project 2025. They are caught up into the celebrity and the sloganism of who he is. So we have to understand that there's a difference between what we see and know as conventional politics, the electorate, and what is on stage right now as we speak. So that is the danger of this Project 2025. But you have to read it so you can understand within it where your name is called. And that is what we're missing. We have these people who are coming on social media because it has become a space where it has been profitable for them to work on the emotions and trigger our people to look towards them for the answers, as opposed to them really being educated on the issues for themselves and then making the decisions on how we should form our own think tanks with a great strategy to keep us from suffering the casualties that they have planned for us in the coming decade.
Brother Karim, as always, and that's why I hit you up, brother, to come on and give commentary, after the presentation. As always, you hitting so many important things, the nail on the head, cautioning us, first of all, to read it for ourselves. This is what we always do, right? In political education. Don't believe me. Read it for yourself. That's why if you look in the description section, family, of this video, you're going to see links and you should check them out, particularly the one that says the People's Guide, because that breaks it all down from lawyers that work on behalf of the people. It's really good. I like how you made the differentiation. You said, well, these are proposals. I like that. And he's correct. It's not law yet, family. It's not law. But do understand, they've written it all out for Trump's, if he gets elected, his first 180 days. This is what you do. All written out. So you might remember last time he was president, he did an executive boot. Started banning different people. He started doing these executive orders. Yeah, that's what they're trying to do. All right. Brother Karim, I think we have Brother Mark. Peace to Brother Mark McPhee. Let me just take a quick minute and acknowledge the people who are here, Brother Karim, if you don't mind. And then Brother Mark has a question I want to share with you, see what you think. First, we got my lovely queen, Brenda Hilaire, in the building. Thank you. She says, Wukusu to the family. That's our call at Harlem Liberation School. Wake up, clean up, stand up. Wukusu, back to you, my queen. We have Brother Noel Omonde. Queen is thanking people for coming out. Definitely. Brother Mark McPhee in the building. Seen as some as the Harlem mayor. Brother Mark, peace and blessings back to you, good brother. Thank you for joining us. Definitely down to Harlem Liberation School family. We got MCE Music in the building. Now, this brother Obafemi and his group MCE Soul Music, Brother Karim, they're like conscious hip-hop, man. Pan-African nationalist hip-hop. Beautiful. So he's letting us know he's in the building. Thank you, brother Obafemi, for joining us. And congratulations on your book signing, brother. I saw your post, your first book signing. That's a big deal, man. So congratulations to you. We got the chief. We call him Chief, Brother Fode Ajamu. We share that name. That's my middle name. Mansare. He says a BB Fahudi to Baba Ajay. Right back to you, brother. Thanks for joining us. Both him and Brother Obafemi are members of the Brotherhood Circle that I'm a part of, Brother Karim. G-Man Allah, one of the baddest producers from New Jersey in the building. Yes, sir. And there's McKinley Smith is in the building. And I think April Brown is in the building. She says salute. And I want to see, did I miss anything? Okay. Now, this is what Brother Mark is saying. He's saying, do you think Trump will be manipulated into this kind of a manifest destiny because of the MAGA support of him?
Well, more than likely, this individual that we're dealing with, very egotistical, narcissist, bask in the glory of who his celebrity is, and is a bit unhinged. So this is the hope of the Heritage Foundation, that once he is seated back in the White House, that they will have positioning power to push forth this agenda. And this is what the Democratic Party, the Independents, and other political parties are utilizing as the fear mongering element in their rhetoric, right? Because they're saying that once he is elected or selected and placed back into the role of the CEO of this corporation, that he himself has no true agenda. He himself is not politically savvy, so his ears will be open to anybody that makes it sound as if they are sensible and can, better position him as the authoritarian going forward. So if this plan falls in his lap and he is who I believe he is, I truly believe that he would like to be Ronald Reagan in this era. He would definitely adopt many of the policy. I don't know if the whole entire document is something that he would run with, but I'm most definitely sure that there are a lot of spaces that appeal to him. We do know, for one, that when he was first selected for that seat, that he attacked the intelligence community, right? And that is definitely one of the main languages in Project 2025, to attack the intelligence community and make it a space where the this group and the president has total authority over it, the restructuring of it. So that is a piece that I'm sure that he would find appealing. Of course, how they rebudget and allocate funds to the military, right? To our branches of service. These things may appeal to him as well. So there's no doubt that he would definitely take from it. The danger for them in the Heritage Foundation would be if he has so much power that he would move them to the side and do as Trump does and say, well, this is mine. You understand it? There's so much and so many different ways we can view this. I, for one, though, am very tired of the reactionary response that so many of us are having with white folk. We are still viewing it from a space of defeatism. We are still viewing it from a space of where our only option is to buy in and seek the assistance of other white folk. You understand? This is my problem with instructing our people to run back out, right? In groups and vote and make an attempt to appeal to the inner good of other white folk who are running themselves, and they seem powerless when it comes to this new movement that is going on, when it comes to white men making an attempt to reestablish themselves globally. If we are really students of history and politics and war, this time here is the weakest in terms of idea and vision when it comes to white folk. Globally, no one is going for it. Globally, white folk idea and bullying is being challenged. But here, we are instructing our people to move in the same pattern that
Now,
we
wait a minute,
need to
brother
look.
Blitz.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, brother, but I want to ask you. So it sounds like you would be in agreement with the notion that somewhere in the conversation we need to be going back to go forwards. Republican New Africa comes to mind, and some of
Mm-hmm.
our Black Power groups were talking about, hey, Black people need to have a plebiscite to see, do they even want to be part of this country? Do we want to be? We were never asked, family. We were dragged over here. Then they had the Civil War, and then the 14th Amendment came, and just boom, you were born here, you're a citizen. But nobody
Mm-hmm.
asked us, newly freed, enslaved people. So one of the things seems to me, I want to get your opinion. Should we have a referendum in our community about where we stand on, am I an American citizen? Do I want to be seen differently? And also, do you think that we need to really start building at the national level an independent Black political party? And are there some other things we need to be considering as well, so that we're not just locked into the traditional party politics that we see going on? What do you think
Well,
about that?
we most definitely need referendums. We most definitely need think tanks. We most definitely need a reorganization and a naming of how we manifest ourselves as melanated people. Because in the loss, in the retreat of what we were in those different organizations and entities, in that failure, we never regrouped. You understand? So when you speak of Republican New Africa, Black Panther Party, the Black Liberation Army, which was shortened. Most people don't know that BLA had a CK at the end of it. And for the sake of social media, we won't go into what CK actually meant. But Black Liberation Army, if you know, then you know. CK meant something that was very direct. Okay? These organizations, whoever is still around and can articulate the mission statement and the task of these organizations, have to reorganize and now give clarity on the direction where we need to go. Now, in saying that, I will let you know that I personally know that there are elders from these organizations, December 12th specifically, that are part of the political apparatus. They are elected officials and chose to go that route as opposed to continuing in the frame of which where they used to community grassroots and making sure that the people benefited from their expertise. So this is where the confusion is, that you have people who know better, but they're not doing better. You understand? There has become a laziness within those organizations. There have been a transitioning and a dying out of some of their most stellar individuals, and we are left with, the crumbs in the bag. And that has hampered our progress. It has stagnated our generation, right? The middle ages, the 40s, the 50s, the 55-year-olds, because there is a difficulty with speaking a language, right, that is going to envelope that energy, that confrontational spirit that we need as liberators. So we have to get back to referendums. We have to be in a position that they were never in. You understand? They didn't have social media to get word about who's a rat, who's a snitch, who's an agent. They didn't have that. So the time that it took them to find out those who weren't on code cost them. So we don't have the issues like that. We can sit, we can build, we can be on social media 24 hours a day in these referendums, tweaking and pulling and utilizing ideas and pulling resources here and there to establish independent parties, to establish true organizations that are educating and feeding the people independently of this government. We rely too much on white folk. We will never ever gain anything and will always be up under one of their boot. And this is what our people have relied on. Well, it's not affecting me directly. Well, tomorrow I'll be all right. Well, I get paid on the 15th. Well, man, I'm getting ready to go on this vacation. Oh, such and such is having a party. Oh, got to get an outfit, got to get a bottle. Oh, got to go to Jamaica, get this massage on this raft. And they rely on the fact that they can come back and their lives will not change. So I don't feed into the frenzy of, oh, we got to do this because Trump, because you're not serious about it. There's no seriousness in your tone. There's no seriousness in the manifestation of who we are as a people. It's just not there. So sometimes these things have to happen so the conditions can become so harsh that you have no other way but to get on code and get to moving. It has to happen.
Brother Karim, what you're saying is like deja vu. I remember telling the Queen a few years ago, I said, babe, it's going to get ugly. It's going to get a little ugly out here. This is way before this. I knew about this is before Trump was even running for president and all that stuff. Like the conditions, the people's consciousness is getting lower and lower. Our conversations are different. Like today, we talking about, oh, did you see the grandma challenge? Did you, all these girls doing the same dances and all the dudes doing, and it's like the conversation is not the same. Kamala Harris, Joe Biden drops out, he endorses Kamala Harris. Now all the black people running to Kamala Harris. We support. I'm with her. Like, wait a minute. I don't hear any talk about building an infrastructure so that we have an independent black political party. I don't hear about anybody saying, well, while they're doing all that and the Heritage Foundation got Project 2025 and what's the black agenda? And I don't see us even saying, let's start vetting, let's have a black agenda that comes out of the community and let's vet candidates. If we're gonna support the political system, it has to be done our way. Like we have to tweak that. So instead of letting Reverend Chicken Wing and Pork Chop run for office and they ain't done shit for the community ever in their life, ever. Right. Why don't we go to the people we know in our community that's been banging for us and go to them and vet them with this agenda? Say, if you have an oath to make this agenda happen, we got your back with funding. We got your back with protection. We got your back with the things you need. You won't have to go to these people. So my concern, Karim, falls in line with what you're saying. I'm not seeing no nationalist, Pan-Africanist agenda in this. What I'm hearing people say is what you're saying. Well, we got the lesser two choices, and don't get me wrong. Sometimes the wise thing to do is to look at the resources you got and work with what you have. But listen, family, even when Fidel Castro and his 2025 compadres was in the mountains, with forks and fucking spoons, they used what they had. But ultimately, they killed the enemy and took their weapons, their bow, was a nation. You see, we're not, our people ain't taught, we got so comfortable here, brother, that we forgot that we're an internal colony.
Yes.
We got
Yeah.
so comfortable. You don't hear people talking about, man. I remember Kwame Ture told me, we brought him to my school, and every time he in his hotel, when he answered the phone, he's telling people where he's at. People calling him back. He's like, ready for revolution. I was like, what? Every time, ready for revolution. And he even named his autobiography Ready for Revolution. And another professor I had who's with the Black Panther Party told me that they used to say free by 63. SNCC rather. They used to say free by 63. In other words, these are people who are implanting in the forefront of their political minds that we want a nation. We want freedom. We want liberation. We want sovereignty. We want self-determination. Not we want a nice job on the plantation. We want better music on the plantation. We want a slightly bigger plot of land on the plantation. That it seems to me that what Malcolm said about the house Negro and the field Negro is completely playing out right before our eyes right now. And it's kind of disappointing because I see this, Brother Karim. I'm not talking about the masses of our people. I'm never going to bang on the masses. We assume that they're the 85%, right? I'm talking about the leadership. I'm talking about the brothers and sisters that say they're Pan-African, some of them Pan-African nationalists. I'm not hearing them say, what happened to overthrowing the government and replacing it?
They're sitting in elected official seats.
What's going on?
This is what I'm telling you. They are they are elected officials now. They sit at nonprofits as directors and board members, and they get funding from the government. They have become, as I have coined, comfortable in their oppression. When people are comfortable in their oppression, they do not seek liberation.
I mean, Brother
They
Karim,
don't seek
what you're
liberation.
saying is right and exact. That's right and exact. And as much as I know it, you know it. We did the reading. We've been out there banging in the streets. We've been running in the organizations. This shit still bugs me out. Like I could explain why we deaf, dumb, and blind, easy lead in the wrong direction, hard to lead in the right direction. I mean, we know it. We can explain it, and yet it's still like. So now Kamala Harris. I'm looking at these posts, Brother Karim. You sent me something. I'm looking at posts. All these people for Kamala. All these people for Kamala. Yo, do they know her record? Do they know how she was prosecuting the brothers? Do they know some of the public statements she made? So it's like, yo.
Well, I listen, that money, that bag, that security that they get from these political parties, from these corporations, listen, when you have convicted felons who have done a substantial amount of time, and I'm talking about 6 to 8 to 10 years or better, saying that they're going to vote and they're going to organize black men to vote for a district attorney who on the record has imprisoned parents for something as simple as truancy, who has withheld evidence from defendants who were facing the needle. You understand? This is the type of individual that convicted felons are galvanizing black men around. This is what you're facing. People who know better. But again, because they are comfortable in it, and I want to be very clear, comfortable in your oppression also means that you're not worried about anybody holding you accountable for those actions, because those who were once your worry are getting the same bag that you're getting. I'm telling you that there are members of December 12th. I'm telling you that there are members of the original Black Panther Party that are taking government bags, that are taking funding, that are sitting in elected official seats. These were the part of the cadre, and they are allowing this new generation to find a way to sit in these spaces and misdirect the revolutionary energy of the people. So who are we if we are not able to utilize our voices, our activism, you understand, at high levels? We have to do better than they do, or else then we are going to be viewed as failures to this generation. So we must, again, like you stated, have these referendums, start coming through on StreamYard, on YouTube, on Instagram, and be consistent.
Mm-hmm.
Consistent in message and consistent with how we're manifesting ourselves.
That's right.
Establishing a new code, because the old codes are just like the old telephones, right? We don't use rotary phones anymore. We're in the smartphone era. So rotary phone era strategies won't work in this smartphone virtual age. We
That's
have
right.
to get back
After
to the
that.
table, and we have to have committed people, but the cadre must be important because, as you said, we must be protected and we must do some house cleaning ourselves.
Oh yeah, and you know what? I'm not going to get into this because it's not outside the scope of this particular broadcast, and I'm not trying to take it in a whole other direction. But I'm just going to leave it here in general terms. The thing about that Black Liberation Army, as those of you who know or don't know, they addressed the police brutality and misconduct issue quite directly, by shooting back, I might say. And if you go on YouTube, you'll hear this one office white guy, and he's looked like he's scared to death. He's like, yeah, they killed about 40 of our cops in the last so and so months. And now listen to me carefully, fam. I want you to put in perspective. One of our great African philosophers, Biggie Smalls, he had a song and he had a verse. And if we understood that, like for real, a lot of what's happening to us may not stop, but we'd be in a position to neutralize a lot of it. He said, there's going to be a lot of slow singing and flower bringing if my burglar alarm starts ringing. What does this mean? Hey, he got a policy. He got a policy, and he's prepared to enforce it. He didn't say, unless it's cops, I'm not. Unless it's if it's drug dealers, I won't do it. No, he said there's going to be a lot of slow singing and flower bringing. In other words, it's going to be funerals. If you try to run up in here, there's going to be a policy that will be executed regardless to whom or what. And one of the things I think that's missing is one of the things that BLA did, because they always tell the story about how they caught some of them and some of them would, and didn't end up so well, but they never tell you about the calamity, the predicament it put the police forces in around the country. And I always thought to myself, one way to get some change is when there's white women in suburbs going, Stanley had a scholarship to play tennis at Stanford and they killed him. And then the white community is saying, babe, who's a police officer, babe, who's a corporate banker and raider of the community, bloodsucker of the poor, I don't like them Negroes either, but you got to stop because we're losing. See, what happens, family, very simply, is when you're the only one losing, nobody cares, right? You're the only one losing Pookies and Nuck and Peanuts and Ray. They ain't losing nobody. But see, what happens is when you tilt that tilt that scale a little bit, and they start feeling what it's like to go to funerals, or feeling what it's like not to be able to come up in your community and gentrify the shit because you're making it so uncomfortable that they say, I gotta get out of here. When they start feeling stuff, then you're gonna see things change a little. You have at least room to negotiate. But as long as people see they can come up in your house, ain't gonna be no slow singing and front flower bringing. You're gonna roll out the red carpet when they come up in your neighborhood. There's no uncomfortable feeling. Things will never change. And I don't know if and that's the simplest way I could put it. I don't want to go too far in that direction because that's what the next broadcast would be about. But I had to say that. Look at this, this brother, the bald one, or whoever this is the bald one. I think that's his sister. It says Elaine Brown from the Black Panthers. This is crazy. Just opened up her new housing apartment. That's crazy.
Well,
now,
that's one of my queen comrades out of Oakland. That's my sister V, and
she's on point, definitely.
because she's always at like I'm saying, she's always in politics at a grassroots level, so she's able to see this in real time. You understand? So these are the people who I engage with on a regular basis because they're right there. They know. They can give us firsthand information on what's going on, right? This is not, and of course, we have to educate our younger viewers on who Elaine Brown is and how problematic she was even at that time. So again, there's an education piece that is missing politically, where we have all these people who are influencers and have these large subscription bases on social media who are talking about, and I don't want to slight anybody, but you're talking about we could get a bag of rocks and burn some incense and Whitey's gonna go away. This is not, it just doesn't happen. If that was the case, it would have happened back in 1400 when those who were really astute in the practices, it would have worked then. We're far removed from it right now, right? We don't even know if those who claim to be the best at doing it know what the hell they're doing. There has to be very practical means that we deal with this new era of white folk, right? So again, while our communities are no longer communities, right? Because everybody is in the Black community, everyone. If you go through Harlem, like I just did, if you go through Queens and Brooklyn, like I always do, when you look at the businesses, small or large, and you see the amount of resource and funding that is being drained. Me, for one, the community of East New York has absolutely zero resources for the people who reside there. Every corporation, big or small, pulls out millions of dollars a day from that community and nothing is returned. That is on a macro level. Now, when we look at how this is moving throughout the country, we will understand our positioning. We will get to know, but we have to find a way to get the average individual, for them to understand how politically their life is. Like, people don't understand that your being itself is a political entity. People don't believe, they really sit in a space where they believe that they are apolitical. You going to work every day and paying taxes and voting makes you a political space. You sitting in a jail cell somewhere makes you a political space. You as a college student somewhere being taught how to work for this establishment makes you a political entity. Our people, where we once had scholars and experts sit in at the lowest level and educate people on just how political life is, then we attach other entities to it, right? Then we start to show them how political economics work, how political the police engagement is. How do we protect all of that? You don't get that anymore. When you were a slave, you understood because you had a whip. Either you was going to face it or you was going to go into that field. That was what politics was back then. And as it grew and we grew away from it, your oppressor, the enemy, began to get more savvy. So now you don't mind going into the cotton field because the cotton field is Starbucks. You don't mind going into the cotton field because the cotton field is Target. You don't mind going into the cotton field because the cotton field is Arista Records or Bad Boy. You don't mind going into the cotton field because that whip is not prominent. But with the threat of Project 25, with the threat of this man going to be emperor, you have these other people who act like they're not part of the machine, scaring you. Right? You understand? Do you understand what's going on? We have speakers of houses, we have city council members, we have the pastors speaking to you as if they're not part of the political apparatus, that their home that they're mortgaged to is not part of the political apparatus. It don't matter if she's there or if Trump is there, because their mortgage is still going to be paid. So our people, us, we have to be better at educating our people properly, so then they can decide whether or not they will ride with us, which is riding with themselves and not being reactionary and waiting for our fate to be handed out by whoever wins.
Brother Kareem, we got to take a quick break, and we'll be right back, family. Thank you. You're watching the Harlem Liberation School Online. Myself, co-founder of Harlem Liberation School, Brother Ajay Taimba. Our guest, who really is more like family, Brother Kareem Bliss Johnson. And I just want to hit y'all with this real quick. Hey, you. I know you dig in Harlem Liberation School. All those interviews and those mini documentaries. Stop playing. You know Harlem Liberation School is fire. So what you need to do right now, if you're watching on YouTube, is click that red subscribe button. Share the video. Add your comments and click the notification bell. Y'all know what to do. Follow instructions, family. That's Harlem Liberation. We're playing a game called Harlem Liberation School Says. You remember Simon Says. All right. Brother Obafemi, I believe, raised a good question. I kind of want to address that. Family, we're running out of time, but I do want to get back. Okay. Kind of address it. He's asking, how will the initiative impact funding for public schools in predominantly black neighborhoods? What changes might be made to the policies? We got school choice, yada, yada. This is what I want to say to Brother Obafemi. First, I want to say shout out to MCE's Soul Music Family. Go to their YouTube channel. You complain about the hip hop you don't like that's too violent, too hypersexualized. Go check out MCE. They got beautiful music that you will love. Okay, we got to get from complaint to resolution. You got to have agency. If you saw my live this morning, we defined what agency means, right? Okay, family. I worked at 2 or 3 charter schools. This is what charter schools do. They take the school out of the public sphere. They put it in the private sphere. At one school I worked at, the white dude that started it had been in the building maybe 3 times in 3 years. He's making millions of dollars off the school, barely steps in the school. The school is its own judge and jury. It's its own superintendent office. I want to make sure you understand what I'm saying. I started a charter school. We regulate the school. We judge the school. We look at the school. It's not beholden to an outside superintendent office. It's not regulated. As long as they meet the benchmarks that they set forth in their charter that the state signs, why they call it a charter school, long as they meet the benchmarks, they're good. One of the things they're talking about in this is kind of creating a situation. That's what the charter school movement was designed to do, to take it out of the public sphere, put education in the private sphere. Now, you know what happens? The kids that have learning issues, the kids with so-called ADHD, the kids that are on medication, the kids that only speak Spanish or another language, they do terribly in charter schools. Because what? It costs more money to hire those teachers. They're unregulated. There's no board of education regulating them, forced to do reports coming in and checking in on stuff that you're beholden to. So you'll notice the most vulnerable people will always suffer the most when there's no regulation. It's kind of like after the Civil War when they made the little treaty, the North and South. We'll vote for your president, let him be president, but you gotta give us the right to run our niggers the way we want. And the North left went right back up to the North and left those newly freed Africans and new Africans to suffer under the hands of their former slave masters for 100 years until the Civil Rights Movement. And we call that the Jim Crow period, the Black Codes. It's the same thing. So so to answer your question, imagine there is no more Board of Ed because they talk about getting rid of the Board of Ed family. And all they're really saying is putting it in the private sector. So now what happens? The poor people, the under-resourced people historically, the marginalized people, they're going to absolutely have the worst schools, the newest, most naive teachers. They're going to absolutely have the worst facilities and resources. That's what it means. That's the standards are based on the individual school. As I said, charter schools don't have any regulation that's outside of them. They regulate themselves. The only regulation they have is the state, but that only comes into play if the charter school doesn't meet its benchmarks. They have a certain amount of years. If they don't meet those benchmarks, then they lose their charter. But under this sort of plan, that will even be tweaked, right? So I hope I answered your question with that. Brother Karim, we want to get ready to wrap up, but I want to know, is there anything else good, brother? First of all, man, thank you for the razor sharp analysis, brother, the fire, the heat. Love you for that. You keep it real every time. We need more of that. Is there anything else you want to say about this project 2025, how we should be responding to it, what you're not hearing that you want to hear more of around this discussion? Anything?
I want people to act as if it was enacted yesterday, and this man that they are so fearful of is in the seat right now. That's what I would like. I would like people to act as if it has been enacted, as if Donald Trump is in office and he has adopted it and is moving forward. Our people need to respond to that right now. Don't wait. Don't sit around. I want them to act as if it's on. So now what do we do? What is the response? What is our contingency plan? How do we move forward? Act as if it happened yesterday, because if you're watching, it basically has. Okay? It basically has. With Sleepy Joe backing out and the push for this broad, again, this is a play, because at any given time, he knew he was not healthy enough to withstand this. He knew that 2 years ago. Okay? So for them to exit now is like they're handing the reins over to this party and to this foundation and to Trump. So what are we going to do? We need to act as if it has already happened, because whether you believe it or not, whether you're a conspiracy theorist or not, whether you believe in gematria or not, you understand? You still have to use the basic common sense to know that whatever is going on, you are only in control of the quality of your life if you take these matters into your own hands and move on it.
Brother Karim, that's right and exact right there. The bald one sister says she appreciates the build, as do we. She also said that she just went and subscribed, which we definitely appreciate. We definitely want you all to subscribe. It's a little more power to do a few more things and reach more people. I see people that's doing absolute foolishness, gaming, got millions and millions of subscribers, and all they're doing is playing a game and letting you watch. Like, wow, millions of subscribers. But that's just the way it is. I want to remind you all, Brother Kareem, I want to thank you. I'm gonna go solo for a quick minute, brother. I want to thank everybody for coming out. I want to remind you that the purpose tonight was a teaching. So some of you came late. That's no problem. This will be automatically recorded as soon as we end. I encourage you to go back and watch the first 20, 25 minutes. That's when we kind of went through the presentation of what this is, who created it, and why, and what some of the negative impact would be for our people if there's a Republican president and if they're able to pass these proposals. And also, family, we can't be like being nationalist and Pan-Africanist myself. I want sovereignty and peace and freedom and safety for my people, education, no barriers. But at the same time, I'm not one of these black supremacists. I don't want nobody's foot on my neck. I want everybody to eat. I want everybody to be safe. I want everybody, children, to be able to grow up as long as they're not devils and bringing harm to nobody. And Hotep said, rule number 1, do no harm. Right? The Greeks stole that from him, and that's what the doctors say in their oath, the so-called Hippocratic oath. That comes from Kemet, though. He said, if you don't know nothing else to do, you have no moral center, do no harm. So my thing is, anyone who looks at this objectively will see that this will affect certain women, certain so-called people of color, a whole lot of poor people, a whole lot of sick people, a whole lot of disabled people, a whole lot of people. So I want us to also think about something the Black Panther Party did, particularly Fred Hampton in Chicago. And that is what Brother Baba Daruba is calling for us to do. He has a plan. He says we need to create a united front. And he says we need to do it yesterday. He says that we need to get over our squabbles with each other, as George Jackson told us. Resolve them squabbles. Don't argue over if you're black, if you're Moorish, if you're, what gang, what set, or any of that. Understand there's a threat. I need you to know the people that put this plan together is over 100 conservative organizations, fam. I'm going to say that again. Over 100 conservative organizations put that Project 2025 together. We have to assume white people are human. Y'all make them superhuman, but they're human, right? And that means they have internal squabbles. They have political disagreements, right? But they're able to say, we want to exert global control, starting with the center, the number one empire of the United States, all over the world. And we're ready, at least at this point, to put some of our differences, aside. And so Baba Daruba says we need to start thinking like that too, as well. As we go into the next week's event on Saturday at 2 p.m., where we now move from the teach-in part and we go into the strategy session part. That's very important that we think about things that are not traditional or typical, things that are not working within the system, right? And lastly, if you doubt anything Brother Karim said about we can't work within the system, we can't listen. And you hear me talk about nation and dismantling the government and fighting for a nation, and you saying these two Negroes are crazy. First of all, we're not Negroes, and certainly we are not crazy. If you know this, the country most of you are sitting and watching this, it was 13 colonies. I'm gonna say it again. Nobody would have thought that those 13 ragtag colonies, most of the colonies didn't even have military experience, would beat the most powerful empire on the planet with the greatest navy on the planet, Britain. Nobody would have predicted that. And yet they did. And one of the key things that got everyone fired up. Now remember, they had loyalists. They had some colonists that were down with Britain, that wanted to keep the things as they were, like we do. That's what Karim was talking about. We got loyalists in our camp that's still loyal to their way of doing things, going to follow their rules, say it's not all that bad. But the key thing that lit the fire under those colonists behind, guess what it was? A man named Thomas Paine. He wrote a pamphlet called Common Sense, Political Education, baby. And that little pamphlet got all around them colonies, and they reading it, and he's like, we deserve to fight for our freedom. We don't deserve to have a king. And got people fired up. So I'm saying that to say, this political education we're talking about is not a sterile, docile, look before you cross the street education. This is something that puts a fire in you, straightens your back, reminds you of who you are and whose you are, and who you're responsible to and for, and helps you to have the revolutionary creativity and vision to think way outside the box, to see possibilities that other people don't see. And the best of our leadership, that's why they were so successful. They were able to see what other people didn't see because their minds were free. And they knew that this is not about staying on nobody's plantation, making peace with our enemies. This is about we're at war. The only thing is they're winning the war. So how do we change that around? And war, you can make many metaphors about that. But this is just another piece in that age-old white supremacist war against the black man and woman, or new Africans, family. That's what it is. I want you to think that this, we're going to close. Sometimes people fight their greatest desperation fight when they know they're about to lose. See, I don't know if you all are peeping the fact that we get caught up in the paranoia, but this might be actually telling us, hey, wait a minute, white man's getting desperate. They talking some crazy shit, like this shit. I don't even think they could pull this off. A lot of their people don't even necessarily agree with some of the stuff in this proposal. It might be telling you that the American empire is falling, family. It might be telling you that this is where we strike, that this is the moment, that we might be living in the right historical moment, that Babylon is coming down. So just think about that. Meditate on that as you go about your business. Just think about, wow, what Brother Karim was saying, and think about the fact that maybe we're looking at it wrong. Maybe if we look at it that way, if you look at it that you're the giant, that you're the chosen people, that you're the people that are the radical consciousness of this world. We've always been those people. You might look at things different. You might say, wait a minute, what I saw as the end of the world might be the cleansing of the world, might be that which reignites a new world order, so to speak. Right? So family, just think about that. Brother Karim, man, we thank you for being here with us. And Brother Karim, you have a YouTube channel, man. You killing them with them subscribers, brother. Could you tell us the name of your channel so we can subscribe?
It's my name, Karim Blizz Johnson, YouTube. Welcome to the struggle. Welcome to class. And of course, I make an attempt to go on and give class just about every night. I have a nice, solid base of moderators, right, who are my classroom assistants, and we are attempting to at least bring into our people the concept of life without the white man.
Mm.
You have to
You just say it again.
conceptualize that.
I just want to hear that. Say that again, brother.
That's what we're establishing every night. The idea of life without the white man. You understand? So you have to conceptualize him being defeated
And that's
before
what we're talking about.
you
That
can
vision.
really engage
Yeah.
in this political work that we are moving towards.
Yes, sir.
Because
Yeah.
they conceptualize a life of enslavement for you, a life of oppression for all of us globally, whether we are here, whether we are in the Sudan, whether we are in Panama, whether we are in Pakistan, whether we are in Palestine, whether we are in Mexico. They conceptualize it. The 13 colonies was a concept. They conceptualized, they thought of themselves as winning and victors, and this is where we're at right now. Though
right.
they are falling, we have to conceptualize life without them, being responsible to ourselves and for ourselves. So that's what my channel is. Of course, all my social media is public. I'm all around. My name is right there, and I welcome all to come through.
Yes, and I suggest you all go through, and that we get that team and village concept back. That we get out of this zero-sum game. That we get out of this, well, if he does well, that means I don't. We got to get out of that. That's their thinking.
Mm-hmm.
We come from a people who say everybody not only can eat, but everyone should eat, and everyone should eat well. That there's enough for everyone if we don't allow one rascal to destroy the environment. There's enough for everyone, right? And that's the way we think that way. Some of these little barriers and this infighting we do might begin to slowly dissipate. But if not, family, I think the saying used to go, either we fight together as free men and women and New Africans, or we die separately like fools. That's our choice. That's a choice. And I hope that you will choose wisely, family. We're going to sign out. We're going to say peace and black power. Wukusu.
Peace.
Family. Yes, sir. Join us, family, Saturday, 2 p.m. Come through. Now we're going to be talking about strategy session. All right? No more teaching in. You got the basic information. You got the playbook. You can look it up yourself, and there's stuff in the description section of the video you can look at, resources. Peace, everybody. Thank you all for coming out. Love y'all, man. And we see you next time. Peace.